Today we're gonna talk about something not very well known in Star Wars, but very important. The shields, ray shields, particle shields, and all this cool stuff. Let's go. Shields were basically transparent energy fields produced by deflector shield generators. These generators could be placed on planets, droids, starships, space stations, and individual buildings. The primary purpose of the shield was to block or deflect projectiles and lasers from hitting the objects under protection. They could also provide a significant atmospheric speed boost, probably because they minimized the air resistance. I think so, but I didn't really research it because I'm lazy. There were two distinct types of deflector shields. First we have ray shields, also known as energy shields, and particle shields. The former protected against energy-based attacks such as blasters or laser cannon, while the latter was developed to respond to physical attacks, ranging from projectile missiles and incoming vehicles to asteroids and meteors. Commonly, larger ships and structures were protected by both types of shields, though starfighters often only projected ray shields. Ray shields were also used as capture devices on board capital ships. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and Supreme Chancellor Palpatine were of course caught in a ray shield trap on board Invisible Hand. That's the Grievous' ship. Although designed to counter energy attacks, the energy given off by the ray shields would likely have disintegrated the Jedi duo had they attempted to pass throughout it. Shields protected the Gungan Grand Army in the Battle of Naboo. Of course, these are just the examples from films. Anybody who read any books from the X-Wing series knows a bunch about shields anyways, so yeah. Most of you don't really read novels anyways. Some shields only held back anything with a high energy output, allowing sentience to pass throughout unharmed. Others were deadly to anything upon contact. Some Trade Federation droids, notably the droid Deka, were equipped with shields, making them almost invincible in infantry combat, but shields are very expensive, so usually not every soldier had them. Deflector shields, on the other hand, worked in a layered defense fashion. A volumetric field effect extended out from the surface of the shield projector, attempting to reduce the coherency of any beam attacks and deflect physical objects. The shield itself behaved in a manner similar to that of a thermally conductive material. Energy applied was quickly diffused and re-radiated back into the environment. But the shield itself could also absorb some of the energy. The absorbed energy was shunned into heat sinks and re-radiated at a lesser rate by the shields and neutrino radiators. The use of deflector shields on starfighters and other small crafts made them capable of hypersonic speeds in planetary atmospheres. The strength of a deflector shield was a factor depending on how close the shield was to the projector, the efficiency of the projector, the power applied, and the surface area of the shield. It was common for starship deflectors to be projected a few molecules underneath the hull plating and then extended outwards to protect hull integrity. Starship shields could handle massive amounts of energy, although it was possible to disable a shield by concentrating fire on a specific location. Aside from a standard defensive shields carried by most ships, there were often variants like shift shields. These shields protected any ship traveling in hyperspace from collisions with interstellar atoms, dust, and dark matter. An unprotected collision would destroy the ship. There were also relativistic shields. Not shields in the classic sense, but relativistic shields still insulated the user from outside forces under the normal applications of physical laws. As one accelerated the speeds approaching that of the light, time would, dilate. Time flow was slowed for the traveler, yet for any stationary observers, their specific experience of time would be much more rapid than the close to light speed travel. Relativistic shields or stasis fields effectively anchor the contents of the field to specific relative condition of time passage. I already talked about the relativistic shields in my How Does Hyperspace Work video. Check it out. This function was essential for travel in hyperspace, as it is strongly indicated that physical laws do not behave the same there as in real space. Without stasis fields, after a brief hyperspace jump, perhaps only seconds seconds would have passed, or perhaps one would find themselves untold thousands of years in the future. Although this is not because of the approaching to the speed of light, it's actually because hyperspace is another dimension, right? So there are two basic types of shields, ray shields and particle shields, but there are also other subcategories or shields that are completely special, that are developed from other reasons. Shields were first developed during the early years of space exploration, designed to absorb heat and radiation encountered in space within a planetary atmosphere. Before the introduction of deflector shields, pilots had to rely on thick armored hulls and panels of reflective armor to protect against meteors and laser attacks. Armor was still very important a lot later on the large ships, as the shields on larger ships were often disabled during battles. More advanced versions of the energy shields were developed centuries later, until eventually modern shielding was able to combine ray and particle protection. Eventually, shield technology improved enough to allow some ground vehicles to have dedicated shield generators. In 7811 BBY, squint pipe process were developed. This was basically the type of weapon that caused a brief period where rapid-firing turbolasers outclassed any available deflector shields across the galaxy, until 7500s, when further developments in the squint pipe process resulted in stronger deflector shields. From that point on, shields had a crucial role in space battles for basically all known timeline. But of course, shields weren't used just on ships. There were small devices that could make protective shields around you, as it's seen in many games, but these shields weren't really generally used because they were very expensive and used just by best soldiers or for bigger groups of people. One interesting thing that's probably worth to mention is that shields also had the ability to destroy repulsor lifts. Repulsor lifts, if you don't know, are devices that allow basically all stuff in Star Wars to fly or hover. Well, these devices are destroyed if they enter throughout shields. That's why AATs or something similar generally don't go throughout the shields. Not destroyed, they just, misfunction basically. But yeah, that's it. Bye.